Oh, I'm Siamecat. Who's ready for this week's Nintendo Game Talk? Yes, Jimmy, I know you are. Well, luckily I always keep a flashlight nearby for the yearly apocalypse known as hurricanes. Wow, so this is what fear feels like. Luigi's Mansion 3 released on the Switch in 2019. It would have been funnier if this game had a subtitle in North America but just had a numbered title in Europe, since that's what they did for Dark Moon. Because Europe just can't handle subtitles. Luigi's Mansion 3 was also developed by Next Level Games. At this point, they have to be the best developer that works with Nintendo. Mainly because Alpha Dream is deceased. We all knew Luigi's Mansion would be a perfect fit for the Switch, but as for whether it would happen or not, we had no idea. Which was also the case for Super Mario Maker 2. Luigi's Mansion 3 opens with Luigi, Mario, Peach, 3 Toads, and definitely no one else arriving at the Last Resort Hotel for a vacation. Yes, Polterpup is in this game, unfortunately. Also, this is a bit of a continuity mistake that only I would notice, but Polterpup should have pupils because the Dark Moon gives ghosts from Evershade Valley pupils. Just saying. So this game takes place in a hotel? I wonder if the working title was Hotel Luigi. Of course, the whole thing is a trap set up by the hotel owner, Helen Gravely. And yes, everyone mentions her name, so allow me to point out the obvious. Okay, let's move on. She's a big fan of King Boo, so she helped him escape from Egad's bunker. So Mario, Peach, and the 3 Toads get trapped in paintings. Now it's up to Luigi to run away and jump down a laundry chute. After a little bit of exploring, you'll rescue Egad, and that's pretty much the entirety of the plot until the end of the game. Luigi's Mansion has never been the most story-heavy series out there, but if there's one thing it nails, it's theming. The same goes for the writing. What's here is pretty good, even if there isn't very much of it. As expected, the animation and the graphics in general are probably the best we've seen from any Mario game. Luigi's Mansion 3 takes place in one big hotel. Each floor has a unique theme. Also, why isn't this game just called Luigi's Hotel? Because I call my living room the kitchen. What's the next logical step after the Poltergust 5000? The Poltergust G00, of course. This is easily the most advanced Poltergust yet. The strobe bulb and dark light return from Dark Moon. The new features include a stationary jump you will rarely ever remember you have, a plunger that's pretty fun to use if you like destruction, and a portable Luigi made of goo. Egad should patent that. There were quite a few instances where I kept using the dark light and plunger on something for minutes until I finally used the jump, and that turned out to be the solution. The main thing that makes its inclusion worth it is dodging attacks in boss fights. The plunger is used for quite a variety of things, so it's difficult to explain exactly how it works, but it is a welcome addition. You can summon Luigi at any time. Luigi can pass through pretty much anything metal and gate-like, but it melts in water, so there are places only Luigi or only Luigi can access. As you can imagine, the possibilities for creative puzzles are through the roof with this one addition. It starts off pretty simple, but not too much later, you'll be switching between them constantly. You can even play the whole game in co-op with Luigi, which I've never done, so I don't know what it's like, but I can't imagine there would be any flaws with it. But I'm here to ask the real questions. What is Luigi? It's not artificial intelligence, it's just goo, because apparently Luigi is the one controlling it with his mind. How does that even work? And if Luigi is controlling it, why doesn't it have any emotion? This is never explained. You can also occasionally use the Super Poltergust, which allows you to suck up entire walls and stuff, but it's only used 3 times in the whole game, so I almost forgot to mention it, and I don't think anyone would bat an eye if I didn't. Remember when I said the solutions to most puzzles in this game aren't well telegraphed 2 weeks ago? Well, this time it wasn't nearly as bad as I remember it being, though I would recommend disregarding what I just said because this is my second playthrough, so there's no way I'm going to forget every solution in the game. I had to look up what to do 10 times more often in my first playthrough compared to this one, which also resulted in this playthrough taking 5 hours less than my first one. The combat is similar to Dark Moon in the sense that you still flash ghosts with the strobe bulb and charge up an extra burst of damage by holding in the opposite direction the ghost is moving, but instead of just a burst of damage, you slam them into the ground. You can even slam them into other ghosts, dealing damage and stunning them. Now this is a cool idea for a Luigi's Mansion combat system, but it wasn't executed that well. Being able to stun every nearby ghost for a while makes the combat way too easy and mindless. Every encounter also feels exactly the same because there are so few ghost types. The combat in Dark Moon was simply more challenging and had more depth. Money is still just as fun to collect as in Dark Moon. You're always rewarded for exploring every corner of this hotel. The upgrade system from Dark Moon is gone, and in its place is a shop where you can buy hints for gem and boo locations. I never used this feature, not even once.
Yeah, you heard me. Stimulating the economy is cheating!
Thankfully, the ranking system from the first game returns, so collecting money isn't entirely useless. I do think A rank should be 80,000 gold instead of 70,000 because I didn't even have to try that hard to get half that amount. Though of all the things to bring back from the first game, the ranking system is kind of a strange choice. Dark Moon had a mission structure, so you could easily replay a mission or two at any time. And I didn't mention this 2 weeks ago, but you can get any one of 3 ranks for every mission in the game. The first game was also replayable in the sense that it's only 3 hours long. Luigi's Mansion 3 is about the same length as Dark Moon, but it doesn't have a mission structure, so it's actually the first game of the series to not be very replayable, which is a bit of a shame, but it's not a deal breaker. Gems return from Dark Moon, and they serve the same purpose, which is to be a more hidden collectible than money. For finding every gem on every floor, your plunger turns into a crystal plunger. This is neat, I guess, but by that point you've already finished the game. There's one boo to find on every floor, and each boo's name is still a pun. It's nice to see some things never change, but they feel like such an afterthought in this game compared to the others, because you have to leave the floor and come back once you clear it to find them. Maybe they would be more memorable if you could fight them during your initial visit of that floor.
Good job, everyone. We finished Luigi's Mansion 3 we forgot to put in the boos.
For catching every boo, your flashlight gets a nice boo design, but again, there's nothing left to do after that. It's like the enhanced triple jump in Super Mario 64. What's the point of this? If there's one thing Luigi's Mansion 3 does better than the first two, it's the bosses. These are exactly what Dark Moon's bosses should have been. Each one is challenging and has a unique solution. This one where you team up with Luigi to blow a projectile back is amazing. But my favorite has to be the one where you have to shoot a plunger at a target and hold onto it as the ship tips over. Though there is still a problem. Stop giving me endless health refills! Every time I get low on health, hearts would appear out of nowhere just to keep me alive. If I take damage too many times, I deserve to try again from the start. You can always save right before any boss, so it's not like you would lose any progress. You know why I think this is here? Someone probably thought this game would be too hard for kids. I could not disagree more. In fact, the entire series is easy. You want to know how many times I died in my playthrough of all 3 games? 0. The series even has one of the cooler game over screens I've seen, and I didn't even know what it was until I looked it up. It is so reassuring that all these characters had unique designs and personalities in an era where not even Paper Mario is allowed to do exactly that. This makes Nintendo sense.
That's code for 0 cents.
There are 17 floors and they all have a unique theme. This is variety in theming at its peak, everyone. I really like the sewers floor. It probably has the best use of Luigi in the whole game. The medieval castle floor is fantastic. The Gloomy Manor and Treacherous Mansion from Dark Moon technically also had a medieval theme, but to a much lesser extent. The best part has to be when you get trapped in a dungeon cell and have to take out a bunch of ghosts as Luigi before 2 walls of spikes crush Luigi. Some of my other favorites are the Twisted Suites and Fitness Center. It is a bit of a shame the stage, museum, pirate, and disco floors are little more than boss fights, but they are some of the better bosses, so it's not a big deal. Most people's favorite floor is the film set one, and I'm no different. It's all about bringing items from one film set to another, which is kinda like the puzzles in the Treacherous Mansion in Dark Moon. I like how they have to use blue screens instead of green screens because Luigi is green. This is also what I do for obvious reasons. Morty is the most relatable character. He just wants to make a movie. You don't even have to capture him, and if you come back later, you can watch the movie he made out of the boss fight with this Ghostzilla thing. You are a heartless monster if you capture Morty. Sometimes there are intermissions between floors. There are only 3, and all you do in 2 of them is chase Polterkitty from floor to floor. Yes, this is Dark Moon's favorite kind of filler all over again. Though it's not quite as bad this time because Polterkitty is at least a fun boss once you finally reach the end of the chase sequence. There is another type of intermission that I can't believe there's only one of in the entire game because it's so good. Right as you're about to start the pirate floor, Egad calls you back to his portable lab in the basement to explain how one of the toads went missing in the sewers. What makes this rescue mission so memorable? Well, you actually get to explore an entirely new part of the sewers, so this technically isn't filler. It would have been amazing if the Polterkitty chases were swapped out with intermissions like these. Also, you can high-five Toad with the X button. The final boss takes place in the kitchen.
I wish.
The final boss takes place on the roof of the hotel. Think about it. Where else would it be? It's a very good fight, but there isn't much to differentiate it from Dark Moon's final boss, though the build-up to it is incredible. The ominous music playing as you slowly climb to the very top of this hotel you've been climbing for the past 15 hours makes for an awesome let's do this moment. You also free Mario right before this. I like how he wall jumps and backflips his way up the tower like you would in a 3D Mario game. After capturing King Boo, the hotel comes crumbling down for some reason, and Polterpup has plot relevance and I hate that! Also, the ground should be wet because of all the water in the pirate floor. Again, only I would notice such unimportant details. Also, the hotel was destroyed. Who, what, why, how? This is never explained. Anyway, the ghosts are sad they no longer have a home, so EGAD proposes the idea of building a new hotel. As you would expect, how big the hotel ends up being is determined by the amount of money you found. There are some multiplayer minigames in Luigi's Mansion 3. They're nothing mind-blowing, but more content is more content. There's one where you collect coins and floaties, one where you capture ghosts to get points, and one where you fire cannons to hit targets. Of these, I'd say the cannon one is probably the most fun and in-depth. Now, there are 6 more minigames in the DLC, which I'm pretty sure only costs $9.99. Besides that, it also includes alternate costumes and some other miscellaneous things. What if I buy the DLC and talk about it for the 52nd episode? Yeah, that sounds like a funny idea. Make sure to remind me when the time comes for me to make the 52nd episode. Remember the actually good online multiplayer mode from Dark Moon called the Scare-Scraper? Yeah, it's back and better than ever. There are new objectives like collect enough money or rescue a few toads, there's this cool team attack, and best of all, there's a lot more variety in floor layouts and themes. This alone makes it more replayable than in Dark Moon. Overall, it's a very fun mode that I hope they continue to improve in the next game. They could even sell this separately and I would still buy it. Oh, and the final boss of the Scare-Scraper is Boolossus, just in case any of you Boolossus fans out there were worried he wasn't in the game. And the best part is that this is the first Boolossus fight to not be frustrating, even if it's just a slightly different version of the final boss from the story mode. It's a shame the problems that do exist are here, because if they weren't, Luigi's Mansion 3 would easily be the best in the series. Dark Moon is my favorite for now, but for all we know, next level games could figure out a way to impress everyone with the next game. Even fans of the first game. Luigi's Mansion is a fascinating series. It was pretty average in terms of sales for the longest time, but put it on the Switch and suddenly everyone's interested. Then again, that's nothing new. It's still hard to believe so many people went from hating the first game when it first came out for apparently not being what we wanted from a Mario game, to claiming no sequel will ever be as good as the original nearly 20 years later. I'm pretty sure the majority of people prefer the newer games now, but those aren't the people that are vocal about it on the internet. Excluding me, of course.
Oh, here's the reason there's a power outage. Apparently some guy in a blanket chopped down a telephone pole. Well, that's anticlimactic.